Six secret wealth habits Wall Street exposed to interns only. A Goldman Sachs intern leaked the exact money playbook they give 22-year-olds on day one. And when I saw it, I was furious. Not because it was complicated, because it was so simple that they've been hiding it in plain sight while the rest of us get fed garbage about cutting lattes and making budgets in spreadsheets. This document wasn't meant to leave that building. It's the same wealth framework they've used internally since 1987. And here's what made me lose sleep. Habit number 4 alone would have made me an extra $347,000 by now if I'd started at 22. I'm going to break down all 6. Before I do, understand something. Wall Street doesn't make money by creating wealthy clients. They make money by creating dependent clients, so the advice they give their own people, completely different from what they sell you. This leaked playbook isn't about stock picks or timing the market. It's about behavioral patterns. 6 specific habits that compound over decades. And the 5th one is going to sound backwards, like genuinely counterintuitive. But there's a reason every managing director I've talked to follows it religiously. I've spent 3 weeks verifying this information with 2 former Goldman analysts and 1 current VP who spoke anonymously. What they confirmed changed how I think about money entirely. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why most financial advice is designed to keep you busy, not wealthy. So let's get into habit number 1. The first habit is what they call velocity stacking. And it sounds fancy, but it's embarrassingly simple once you hear it. Here's how a former analyst explained it to me. On day 1, they sit interns down and ask one question: how fast does your money move? Most people have no idea what that means. So they break it down. The average person gets paid, money sits in checking for 2 weeks, then it goes to bills, and maybe some goes to savings. That's a velocity of 1. The money moves once. Wall Street interns are taught to create systems where every dollar moves at least 3 times before it settles. Paycheck hits, automatic transfer to high-yield savings, automatic investment into index funds, dividends automatically reinvested. That's a velocity of 3. But here's where it gets interesting. They showed me a simulation. 2 people, both making $65,000 a year, both saving 15%. Person A has a velocity of 1. They just dump money into savings once a month. Person B has a velocity of 3, with the same money flowing through a system. After 30 years, Person B has $847,000 more. Not because they saved more, because their money was always working, never sitting. The practical version of this? Tonight, open your bank app. Set up an automatic transfer from checking to high-yield savings. Then set up automatic weekly investments, even if it's just $25. Then turn on dividend reinvestment. Congratulations, you just tripled your money's velocity. But here's the part they don't tell you in those basic finance videos. The real magic of velocity stacking happens when you add what they call friction removal. Which brings me to habit number 2. And this one made me genuinely angry at my 22-year-old self. Habit 2 is called the 72-hour wealth window. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your paycheck the same way. The playbook states this clearly. The first 72 hours after you receive any income determines whether that money builds wealth or disappears. Wall Street interns are trained to have every single dollar allocated before it even hits their account. Not budgeted. Allocated. There's a difference. Budgeting says, I plan to save $500 this month. Allocation says the moment $500 hits my account, it automatically moves to this specific investment before I can touch it. One is a wish. The other is a system. A VP I spoke with told me about an intern who came in making $85,000. Not a massive salary in New York. Within 3 years, she had $127,000 invested. How? She treated the first 72 hours after every paycheck like a heist movie. Money came in. Money immediately moved to 6 different accounts, each with a specific purpose. By the time she could have spent it on something stupid, it was already gone. The specific breakdown they teach? 50% to fixed costs, 30% to investments, not savings, investments, and 20% to what they call strategic spending. That last part is key. They don't say fun money or blow money. Strategic spending means money that either builds skills, relationships, or experiences that compound. Taking a client to dinner? Strategic. Buying a course that teaches you high-income skills? Strategic. Random Amazon purchases at 2 a.m.? Not strategic. Here's your action step. Calculate your next paycheck right now. Multiply it by 0.3. That number? Set up an automatic investment for that exact amount to trigger the day after payday. You just closed your 72-hour wealth window before it could leak. Habit 3 is the one that separates people who become wealthy from people who just make good money. They call it asymmetric positioning. This concept comes directly from options trading but applied to life decisions. In options, you look for bets where you can lose a little but win a lot. Asymmetric upside. Wall Street trains their interns to structure their entire financial lives this way. Here's a real example. A 24-year-old analyst I interviewed was offered 2 job opportunities. Job A paid $95,000 with a 3% annual raise, stable company, predictable trajectory. Job B paid $78,000, but included equity in a Series B startup with potential for 10x if they went public. Most people take Job A because it feels safer. He took Job B. The startup went public 2 years later. His equity was worth $340,000. That's asymmetric positioning. He risked $17,000 a year in salary for a shot at $340,000. The math was obvious once he learned to see it. But here's the counterintuitive part that most people miss. Asymmetric positioning isn't about taking more risk. It's about structuring your risks so the downside is capped, but the upside is unlimited. The playbook gives 3 areas to apply this. First, career moves. Always negotiate equity or performance bonuses over base salary when you're young. Second, skill development. Learn skills that scale, like sales, coding, or content creation. Third, and this is the one nobody talks about, your voice. I'm not kidding. The playbook specifically mentions that interns should develop their communication skills obsessively because the ability to persuade, present, and articulate ideas has unlimited upside. One analyst told me she started creating content about finance and now makes more from her side projects than her Goldman salary. She used a tool called 11 Labs to scale her content across multiple languages and platforms. You can check it out at https://try 11 labs ad 2pu1 01. But the point isn't the tool, it's the asymmetric bet. She risked a few hours a week for income streams that could replace her entire salary. If this kind of thinking is new to you, hit subscribe. I break down one of these wealth frameworks every single day, and the next one is going to cover the exact negotiation scripts they teach interns. Habit 4 is called the decimal shift. And this is the one that would have made me an extra $347,000 if I'd started at 22. The rule is simple. Whatever you're saving now, add 1 decimal place within 5 years. If you're saving $200 a month, your goal is $2,000 a month by year 5. If you're at $500, you're aiming for $5,000. Sounds impossible? That's the point. The decimal shift forces you to think about income growth, not just expense cutting. Here's the math that changed everything for me. Saving $300 a month at 22 with a 7% return gives you about $640,000 by 65. Fine. But applying the decimal shift, saving $300 at 22, then $3,000 by 27, then $30,000 by 32, you hit $4.2 million. Same starting point, different trajectory because you focused on the decimal shift instead of clipping coupons. Your action step tonight? Write down your current monthly investment amount. Multiply by 10. Put that number somewhere you'll see it every single day. That's your 5-year target. Now reverse engineer what income or side revenue would make that possible and start building toward it tomorrow. Habit 5 sounds completely backwards, and it's why most financial advice fails you. The playbook calls it strategic debt acceleration. And before you freak out, no, they're not saying go into debt recklessly. They're saying something far more nuanced. The conventional wisdom says pay off all debt as fast as possible. Dave Ramsey would have you selling your car to pay off a 4% loan. But Wall Street teaches their interns to categorize debt into 3 buckets. Bucket 1 is destructive debt, credit cards, high-interest consumer loans, anything above 8%. Kill this immediately. Bucket 2 is neutral debt, car loans, moderate-interest student loans, anything between 4 to 8%. Pay minimums. Bucket 3 is productive debt, mortgages under 4%, business loans that generate return, student loans for high-income degrees. Actually, strategically carry this. Here's why this matters. If you have a mortgage at 3.5% and the market historically returns 7%, every extra dollar you put toward the mortgage instead of investing is costing you 3.5% per year. Over 30 years, paying off a $300,000 mortgage early instead of investing the extra payments costs you over $400,000 in opportunity cost. One analyst I spoke with has $87,000 in student debt at 3.2% interest. He could pay it off. He won't. Instead, he invests aggressively because the math favors him by over $200,000 over his career. This doesn't mean carry debt forever. It means understand the math, not the emotions. Your parents